Let me ask you a question, and I want you to be honest with yourself. Have you ever stood in the vitamin aisle, holding a bottle of calcium, and felt like you were doing the absolute best thing for your bones? We've all been there. It's a message that's been drilled into us for decades. To keep our bones strong as we age, we need more calcium. But what if I told you that for millions of Americans, that well-intentioned habit might only be telling half the story? What if that calcium, without a proper guide, isn't getting to its final destination, your bones, and is instead ending up in places it should never be, like your arteries and soft tissues? This is the calcium paradox, a secret that the medical community is now starting to understand more deeply. And if you've ever told yourself, well, aches, pains, and weakening bones are just part of getting older, I'm here today to respectfully and powerfully challenge that idea. Because in the next few minutes, I'm going to reveal the missing link in the bone health puzzle, a nutrient so important that it acts like a traffic cop for calcium in your body. By the end of this video, you won't just know what to do for your bones. You'll understand the elegant, powerful system behind it, empowering you to take control of your skeletal health for good. Hello and welcome. Today, we are embarking on a crucial journey together, one that goes far beyond the simplistic advice of just drink more milk. The problem we're tackling is one of the most significant health concerns for anyone over the age of 50. Maintaining strong, resilient bones and avoiding the devastating consequences of osteoporosis and fractures. The goal of this video is ambitious. It's not just to give you a list of supplements. It's to fundamentally change the way you think about bone health. We're going to move from a one-dimensional focus on calcium to a three-dimensional, team-based approach. We're going to build your body's bone health team, and I'll introduce you to every player, from the star quarterback to the unsung heroes on the offensive line. The information we'll discuss today isn't guesswork. It's grounded in solid scientific research from world-renowned institutions. We'll be touching on findings that have been highlighted by organizations like the National Institutes of Health and Johns Hopkins Medicine, and we'll dig into landmark studies that have shaped our modern understanding of nutrient synergy. Here's our game plan. First, we're going to re-examine the most famous player, calcium, and understand why it can't win the game on its own. Then, we'll introduce the essential gatekeeper that lets calcium onto the field, vitamin D. After that, we'll spend a good amount of time on the real director of the show, the one you came here to learn about, vitamin K2. This is the piece of the puzzle that has been overlooked for far too long. And you'll definitely want to stick around for this part, because we're going to use a simple analogy involving a construction site that will make this aha moment stick with you forever. Finally, we'll round out the team with a few other critical players that ensure the whole operation runs smoothly. So get comfortable, and let's begin building your championship-level bone health strategy. And a quick but important reminder, I am not a doctor, and this video is for informational and educational purposes only. The information provided here is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your physician or other qualified health provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition. Never disregard professional medical advice or delay in seeking it because of something you have seen in this video. Alright, let's start with the player everyone knows and talks about, calcium. It's the celebrity of the mineral world. From a young age, we're taught that calcium builds strong bones and teeth. And this is, of course, absolutely true. It's the primary building block, the literal brick of our skeletal structure. So many of us with the best of intentions make sure to get what we think is enough. We drink our milk, we eat yogurt, And maybe we take a big calcium pill every morning, feeling responsible and proactive. It just makes sense. The science, as we've always understood it, says our bones are a reservoir of calcium, and if our blood levels get low, the body will pull it from the bones. So, the logical solution seems to be to flood the system with more calcium to prevent that from happening. But here is where the story gets more complicated, and this is the crux of the problem we're solving today. Think of your body as a major construction project. Calcium represents the truckloads of bricks being delivered to the site. Now, having plenty of bricks is essential, but if they are just dumped on the sidewalk and in the middle of the street, they don't build a strong wall. In fact, they do the opposite. They clog up the roads, cause traffic jams, and make the whole area hazardous. In our body, this is what can happen when we have high levels of calcium in our bloodstream, but no instructions on where it should go. This stray calcium can be deposited in our arteries, contributing to calcification and stiffness, a major concern for cardiovascular health. It can settle in our kidneys, contributing to kidney stones. It can deposit in joints and other soft tissues, causing pain. I once spoke with a woman named Eleanor. For years, she had been taking 1,200 milligrams of a calcium carbonate supplement, exactly as she was told. She was shocked when a routine scan showed not only that her bone density hadn't improved much, but that she had significant calcification in her aorta. She was doing everything right, but the bricks were being delivered to the wrong address. So the action step here isn't to abandon calcium, it's to be smarter about it. The first step is to prioritize getting calcium from whole foods, where it comes packaged with other beneficial nutrients. Things like dairy products, yogurt, kefir, cheese, dark leafy greens like kale and collard greens, canned sardines and salmon with the bones, and fortified foods are excellent sources. If you and your doctor decide a supplement is necessary, it's crucial to understand that more is not always better. The key is not just having the bricks, but having the crew to manage them. As for red flags, if you have a personal or family history of kidney stones, or have been diagnosed with any form of cardiovascular disease, it is absolutely essential to speak with your doctor before you even consider starting a calcium supplement. They need to be part of this decision. Now, if calcium is just the raw material, the bricks, how do we get those bricks from the delivery truck, through the digestive system, and inside the main gate of the construction site, which is our bloodstream? This is where our second, absolutely critical team member comes in. Let's call this player the gatekeeper, vitamin D. For many people, especially those of us living in the northern half of the country, vitamin D deficiency is incredibly common, yet we often underestimate its profound importance for our bones. We might think a few minutes in the sun while walking to the car is enough, or that the small amount in a multivitamin will cover us. The simple science behind vitamin D's role is beautifully straightforward. It acts like the security guard at the construction site gate. Our intestines are naturally selective about what they let through into the bloodstream. Vitamin D holds the master key. When vitamin D is present in its active form, it signals the cells in our intestinal lining to open up special channels and actively pull calcium from the food we've eaten into our blood. Without enough vitamin D, most of the calcium we consume, whether from food or a supplement, can't even get past the front gate. It just passes through our system, unused. It doesn't matter how many truckloads of bricks you have delivered if the guard is asleep and the gate is locked. The bricks will never make it onto the site. I remember my own grandfather, a wonderful man who spent most of his later years indoors. He loved telling us he was getting his sunshine by sitting near the window with his morning paper. We later learned from his doctor at the Cleveland Clinic that sitting behind a window doesn't work, as glass blocks the specific UVB rays needed for vitamin D synthesis. His levels were critically low, and despite his calcium-rich diet, his bones were not getting the benefit. It was a real wake-up call for our whole family. The action step for vitamin D is a three-pronged approach. First, sensible sun exposure. About 15 to 20 minutes on your arms and legs a few times a week during peak sun hours without sunscreen can be very effective, depending on your skin type and location. Second, incorporate vitamin D-rich foods like fatty fish, salmon, mackerel, tuna, egg yolks, and fortified milk or orange juice. Third, for most people over 50, supplementation is often necessary. Vitamin D3, or cholecalciferol, is generally considered more effective than D2. A simple blood test from your doctor can tell you your exact levels, so you can supplement appropriately. And the red flags that might point to a deficiency are often subtle but persistent. Things like chronic fatigue, unexplained muscle aches or weakness, and even a feeling of heaviness in your legs. If these sound familiar, it's a conversation worth having with your healthcare provider. Okay, so let's recap where we are on our construction site. The calcium bricks have been delivered. Thanks to our diligent gatekeeper, vitamin D, the bricks have been brought through the main gate and are now circulating within the construction site, our bloodstream. This is a massive step forward, but this is also where the biggest danger lies and where the biggest mistake in bone health is made. We have all these bricks just sitting around. What happens next? Do they get used to build the strong wall we want? Or do they get left in the middle of the pathways, where they can cause serious problems? We need a leader. We need a foreman on site who knows the blueprints, who can grab each brick and tell it precisely where to go. And Matt, my friends, brings us to the star of our show today, the nutrient that has been the missing link for so long. Let's call this player the director, vitamin K2. Most of us, if we've heard of vitamin K at all, think of vitamin K1. K1 is found in leafy green vegetables and is famous for its role in blood clotting. But vitamin K2 is a different molecule with a profoundly different job. It is, without exaggeration, the traffic cop of calcium in the human body. Its primary role is to activate proteins that direct calcium. The science is fascinating. Vitamin K2 works by activating two crucial calcium-binding proteins. The first is called osteocalcin. Think of osteocalcin as the mortar for our bones. When osteocalcin is activated by K2, it becomes sticky for calcium. It then binds with calcium circulating in the blood and escorts it directly to our bone matrix, locking it into place and building strong, dense bone tissue. Without enough K2, osteocalcin remains inactive, and it can't grab the calcium. The bricks are there, but there's no mortar to secure them to the wall. The second protein K2 activates is even more remarkable. It's called matrix GLA protein, or MGP. If osteocalcin is the mortar for bones, MGP is the cleanup crew for our arteries and soft tissues. When activated by vitamin K2, MGP becomes a powerful inhibitor of calcification. It patrols our blood vessels, our heart valves, and other soft tissues, actively seeking out any stray calcium deposits and sweeping them away, preventing them from hardening and causing damage. A groundbreaking piece of research, the Rotterdam study, published in the Journal of Nutrition, followed over 4,800 people for a decade. It found that those with the highest intake of vitamin K2 were 52% less likely to develop severe aortic calcification and had a staggering 57% lower risk of dying from heart disease, all while showing benefits for bone health. This is the definition of a win-win. Okay, let's just take a quick pause. We are deep into the heart of our topic now. We've talked about calcium as the bricks, vitamin D as the gatekeeper, and now the critical role of vitamin K2 as the director who puts those bricks in the right place. We've covered a lot of ground, and my hope is that you're already starting to see your bone health in a completely new light. This isn't just about taking a single pill. It's about assembling a highly effective team. If you're finding this guide helpful, if one of these analogies has clicked for you, I would be so grateful if you took just 1 second to tap that like button below this video. It's a small thing for you, but it tells YouTube that this information is valuable, and it helps get this message out to so many more people who need to hear it. Thank you for that. Now let's get back to our team and introduce the next crucial member. The action step for vitamin K2 can feel a bit tricky at first because it's not as prevalent in the standard American diet. The absolute richest food source is a traditional Japanese dish called natto, which is fermented soybeans. I'll be the first to admit, it has a very strong taste and slimy texture that can be an acquired taste for many. But don't worry, there are other excellent sources. The best ones come from animal products, where the animal itself has converted K1 from grass into K2. This includes things like high-fat dairy from grass-fed cows, especially aged hard cheeses like Gouda and Brie, as well as soft cheeses. Grass-fed butter, egg yolks from pasture-raised chickens, and dark chicken meat are also good sources. When it comes to supplements, you'll often see two forms, MK4 and MK7. MK7, which is the form found in natto, is generally preferred because it stays in the body much longer, allowing it to work around the clock. Now, for the most important red flag of all, if you are taking a blood-thinning medication like warfarin, also known as Coumadin, you absolutely must speak with your doctor before adding any form of vitamin K supplement to your routine. Now that we have our director K2 expertly guiding the calcium, there's one more key player that makes the entire operation run more efficiently. This player is an unsung hero. It's involved in over 300 biochemical reactions in our body, including helping both vitamin D and calcium do their jobs better. Let's call this player the multitasker, magnesium. So many of us are unknowingly low in this critical mineral. We might experience symptoms like muscle cramps, particularly at night, anxiety, your trouble sleeping, and never once connected to our bone health. But the connection is incredibly direct and powerful. If K2 is the foreman on our construction site, magnesium is the essential, all-purpose utility worker that helps everyone else. First, and this is critically important, our body needs magnesium to convert vitamin D from its stored form into its active form. Remember our vitamin D gatekeeper? Magnesium is what turns the key to wake him up and put him on duty. You can take all the vitamin D you want, but without sufficient magnesium, your body can't properly use it to absorb calcium. Second, magnesium plays a direct role in bone formation. It helps stimulate a hormone called calcitonin, which helps preserve bone structure by drawing calcium out of the blood and tissues and back into the bones. And third, about 60% of the body's magnesium is stored in the skeleton, where it is a physical component of the bone crystal lattice itself. My Aunt Carol, for instance, had been complaining for months about terrible leg cramps that would wake her up at night. Her doctor suggested she increase her magnesium intake. Not only did her cramps disappear within a few weeks, but she felt calmer and was sleeping more soundly, all while knowing she was also supporting the very foundation of her bone health team. It's a perfect example of how one smart change can create a cascade of positive benefits. The action step for magnesium is delicious. Some of the best food sources include dark chocolate, avocados, nuts like almonds and cashews, seeds like pumpkin and chia, and legumes like black beans and edamame. Of course, leafy greens are a great source as well. Another wonderful method is taking an Epsom salt bath, as your skin can absorb the magnesium sulfate. When considering supplements, forms like magnesium glycinate or citrate are often better absorbed and less likely to cause digestive upset than magnesium oxide. The red flags for a potential deficiency that warrant a doctor's visit are often the ones people ignore: persistent muscle twitches or cramps, irregular heartbeat, or significant fatigue and weakness. All right, our core team of vitamins and minerals is now assembled. We have the calcium bricks. We have the vitamin D gatekeeper. We have the vitamin K2 director. And we have the magnesium multitasker. This internal system is now primed for success. But even the most skilled construction crew needs two final things to build a truly magnificent and lasting structure: the right fuel to create the framework and the right training to make it resilient against stress. This brings us to our final, overarching point, which we can call the lifestyle support crew, and it has two main parts. The first part is protein. We think of bones as being hard, like a rock. But in reality, as the National Osteoporosis Foundation points out, our bone structure is a living matrix that is about 50% protein by volume. Going back to our construction site one last time, if calcium is the bricks, protein is the steel rebar and flexible scaffolding that gives the entire building its tensile strength and ability to flex without breaking. Without enough protein, bones can become brittle, even if they are dense with minerals. The action step is to ensure you're consuming adequate high-quality protein throughout the day. This includes sources like lean meats, poultry, fish, eggs, dairy products, as well as plant-based sources like legumes, tofu, and quinoa. The second part of the lifestyle crew is perhaps the most powerful signal you can send to your bones: weight-bearing and resistance exercise. This is the demand signal. This is you, the project owner, walking onto the construction site and telling the foreman, "This wall needs to be stronger. It's under stress. Build it up right here, right now." This process is known as Wolff's Law, a principle which states that bone adapts to the load under which it is placed. When you walk, dance, jog, or lift weights, you create tiny micro-stresses on your bones. In response, the body sends in the construction crew, osteoblasts, to that exact spot to lay down new bone tissue and make it stronger. It's a direct order to build. The action step doesn't require a gym membership. It can be as simple as brisk walking, climbing stairs instead of taking the elevator, gardening, dancing, or using simple resistance bands at home. The key is consistent, gentle stress that tells your bones they are needed and must remain strong. Of course, we also have to talk about avoiding the wrecking crew, the things that actively sabotage our efforts. And it's so important to approach this without judgment. In our busy, stressful lives, it's easy to reach for a sugary coffee drink or a packaged snack for a quick hit of energy. But understanding what these things do internally is empowering. High sugar intake creates a state of chronic inflammation in the body. This inflammation is like a constant alarm bell that calls in the body's demolition crew, cells called osteoclasts, which begin to break down bone tissue at an accelerated rate. Similarly, habits like smoking and excessive alcohol consumption have been definitively linked by the Mayo Clinic and others to decreased bone density and a higher risk of fracture. Making small, gradual shifts away from these habits is a profound act of self-care for your future self. So let's take a breath and look back at what we've accomplished today. This was more than just a list of vitamins. This was a complete strategic overview of how to build an elite team within your own body, a team dedicated to keeping you strong, mobile, and resilient for all the years to come. You've won a new, more sophisticated understanding of calcium, seeing it not as a magic bullet, but as the essential raw material that needs a good team. You've won the knowledge of vitamin D's true role as the gatekeeper, letting those materials onto the job site. You have absolutely won the insider secret of vitamin K2, the master director that tells every single calcium brick where it belongs, putting it in your bones and keeping it out of your arteries. You've gained a new appreciation for the unsung hero, magnesium, the ultimate multitasker. And finally, you've won a clear, actionable strategy for supporting this entire team through the lifestyle choices of protein and purposeful movement. Bone health after 50 is not about luck. It's about strategy. It's not about an inevitable decline. It's about intelligent and empowered maintenance. You now hold the blueprint. Now, I would love to hear from you. Which part of this bone health team was the biggest surprise or the biggest aha moment for you? Was it the role of K2 as the calcium director? Was it the connection between magnesium and vitamin D? Please take a moment and share your thoughts in the comments section below. Reading your experiences and insights is not only my favorite part of making these videos, but it helps everyone in this community learn from each other. And if you found this deep dive guide to be valuable and want to learn more about how to take charge of your health as you age, please be sure to hit that subscribe button and ring that little notification bell so you don't miss our future videos. Thank you so much for spending this time with me today. It's a true privilege to share this journey with you. Be well, stay empowered, and I'll see you in the next video.